They were called one of the quietest, most grounded love stories in the modern royal family. No drama, no headlines, no scandal. Princess Beatrice and Edoardo Mapelli Mazzi married in secret, in a ceremony so private, so stripped of pomp, that the world barely knew it had happened until it was already over. No crowds, no cameras lining the mall, just a garden, a borrowed dress, and what everyone assumed was a love story built to last. And for a while, it seemed like it was. But beneath the composed smiles and the carefully curated public appearances, royal commentators and those close to the couple have been pointing to something that has quietly grown into a fault line. A gap, not in affection, perhaps, but in emphasis everything else. In ambition, in lifestyle, in the very foundations on which a marriage must stand if it is going to survive the weight of real life. So the question that has started circling in royal circles and in the press is this: is the marriage of Princess Beatrice and Edoardo Mapelli Mazzi in serious trouble? And if so, what on earth went wrong? To understand where this couple is now, you have to understand where they began. Princess Beatrice, born in 1988, is the elder daughter of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. She has always occupied a curious position within the royal family, close enough to the crown to carry its weight, yet far enough removed to be expected to build an independent life. She has done that, largely, with grace and without the headlines that plague those around her. Edoardo Mapelli Mazzi, known to friends and family simply as Edo, comes from a world of old European money and new commercial ambition. His family has Italian aristocratic roots, and he built his own considerable name in London's luxury property development market. By the time he and Beatrice crossed paths, he was already a man of means, of polish, and of a certain kind of confidence that comes from having built something yourself. The two became publicly known as a couple in late 2018. The relationship moved quickly. By September 2019, they were engaged. And then, as with almost everything in 2020, the world interrupted. The COVID-19 pandemic reshaped their plans entirely. The large royal wedding that had quietly been anticipated was quietly set aside. Instead, on the 17th of July, 2020, Beatrice and Edo married in a private ceremony at the Royal Chapel of All Saints at Royal Lodge, Windsor. The guest list was tiny. The dress, a vintage Norman Hartnell gown loaned by Queen Elizabeth herself, was breathtaking. And the entire event felt, in the best possible way, like it belonged to them rather than to the institution. In September 2021, the couple welcomed their daughter, Sienna Elizabeth Mapelli Mazzi, into the world. Beatrice also became a stepmother to Edo's son from a previous relationship, Wolfie, a role she has, by all accounts, embraced warmly. On the surface, this was the picture of a modern royal family finding its own way. Quiet, private, stable. But royal life has a way of placing enormous, invisible pressure on the people inside it. And the pressure, it seems, has been building for some time. Because, as we would come to learn, the life Beatrice was navigating and the life Edo was building were not always moving in the same direction. The first thing you need to understand is that Princess Beatrice's world shifted dramatically in 2021, and it never quite shifted back. Her father, Prince Andrew, was at the center of one of the most damaging royal scandals in living memory. His association with Jeffrey Epstein and the catastrophic BBC Newsnight interview of November 2019 did not just damage his own reputation. It cast a long shadow over his entire family. Beatrice, who had worked hard to build a professional identity entirely separate from royal titles, found herself once again defined by proximity to someone else's crisis. She handled it with dignity, but that kind of dignity comes at a cost. Meanwhile, Edo's world was accelerating. His property development company, Bonda, continued to grow. He was building projects, making deals, cultivating a professional network that took him across Europe and beyond. He was, in the language of his industry, a man on the rise. And here is where royal commentators began to notice something. The couple, who had married in the intimate, almost defiant privacy of the COVID years, were now being pulled in very different directions by very different demands. Beatrice's royal engagements, limited but still present, placed expectations on her schedule, her image, and her public behavior that Edo, as a private businessman, simply did not share. According to sources cited in outlets, including the Sunday Times and the Daily Mail, there were questions, quiet ones, careful ones, about how well the two worlds were truly integrating. Not accusations, not confirmed reports, but questions. And then something shifted. Reports began to emerge, unverified but persistent, that the couple had been spending considerable time apart. Separate professional commitments, separate social appearances, the kind of parallel scheduling that, in isolation, means nothing, but in a pattern means something. Royal commentators, including those who cover the family regularly for established British publications, began to use a word that no one around Beatrice wanted to hear. Tension. Not crisis. Not confirmed trouble. But emphasis tension. The kind that doesn't announce itself loudly. The kind that accumulates in the silences between scheduled events. The kind that shows up not in what is said, but in what is no longer being said together. But that was only the beginning. Here is what we actually know, and it is important to be precise here, because precision is what separates serious royal commentary from speculation. As of the time of this video, Princess Beatrice and Edoardo Mazzi have not announced a separation or divorce. There has been no official statement from either party, no confirmation from Buckingham Palace, and no on-record source from within the couple's immediate circle confirming that their marriage has formally broken down. But that is not the same as saying everything is fine. What has been documented and discussed openly by royal commentators, including those who appear regularly on programs such as GB News, ITV, and in the pages of credible outlets, is a growing body of circumstantial evidence that something has changed between them. Consider the timeline. In the earlier years of their marriage, Beatrice and Edo appeared together with notable regularity. Charity galas, family events, the kinds of low-key but photographed appearances that constitute the social fabric of upper-class British life. They were photographed warmly. They were described consistently as appearing close and connected. More recently, those joint appearances have become markedly less frequent. Royal commentator Christine Ross, speaking to a podcast audience earlier this year, noted, and we are paraphrasing here, that the couple's public footprint together had noticeably reduced, and that this had raised questions among those who follow the family closely. There is also the matter of their very different professional lives. Edo's business interests are expansive and international. Property development at the level he operates requires his presence, his attention, and his social capital to be deployed constantly and often abroad. Beatrice, meanwhile, has been navigating a deeply complicated period for her branch of the family, one shaped heavily by her father's continued withdrawal from public life and the ongoing reputational management that surround it. These are not small pressures. They are the kind of pressures that test any marriage. And according to reports circulating in British tabloid and commentary spaces, reports that have not been officially confirmed, but which have appeared in multiple independent publications, the question of how to balance these two worlds has been a source of real difficulty. What the title of this video gestures toward is the concern widely discussed, if not yet officially confirmed, that the differences between these two people, their worlds, their pressures, and their trajectories may have grown too wide to easily bridge. Whether that means divorce, that word, that specific legal final word, remains unconfirmed. But something has changed. And the people closest to the royal family, the commentators, the correspondents, the quiet insiders, are no longer treating this as a non-story. They are watching. They are reporting. And the picture they are painting is not the one from that quiet garden in Windsor 5 years ago. When stories like this begin to circulate about a member of the royal family, even a more peripheral one, the reactions tend to follow a predictable pattern. The palace says nothing, or as close to nothing as is humanly possible. Buckingham Palace has not commented on speculation about the state of Beatrice and Edo's marriage. This is entirely consistent with royal communication strategy. The institution does not engage with rumor, even when rumor begins to harden into something more persistent. But silence, in royal circles, carries its own kind of meaning. Among the British press, the story has been treated with a notable degree of seriousness. The Daily Mail, The Sun, and various commentary platforms have all run pieces exploring the state of the marriage. Some more responsibly than others, it must be said. What is notable is that this is no longer confined to the fringes of tabloid speculation. It has moved into the mainstream of royal conversation. For Beatrice herself, the potential consequences are significant. She has spent years, quietly, methodically, building a reputation as the composed, professional, drama-free royal. She works in the private sector. She attends her engagements. She stays out of the kind of headlines that have consumed other members of her family. A divorce, if that is what this ultimately becomes, would be the single largest piece of personal news of her adult life. It would not destroy the public goodwill she has carefully cultivated, but it would reshape her story in ways she cannot fully control. For Edo, the implications are different. He exists largely outside the royal bubble. His business reputation is largely independent of his marriage. But he became, through Beatrice, part of one of the world's most scrutinized families. Extracting himself from that, if that is what happens, is not a simple or clean process. And then there is their daughter, Sienna, who is still very young, and Wolfie, Edo's son from his previous relationship, who has known Beatrice as a stepmother for several years now. Whatever the future holds for this couple, the children are the part of this story that deserves the most careful handling. Because royal stories are, at their core, human stories. And human stories always have people in them who did not choose to be there. There's something that this story, even in its unresolved, still unfolding form, tells us about the particular trap of modern royal life. Princess Beatrice is not a working royal in the full sense. She does not receive public funds. She holds a job. She built a life that was meant to be her own. And yet she can never fully escape the gravitational pull of the institution she was born into. Every decision she makes is filtered through that lens. Every relationship she has is examined against that backdrop. The scrutiny does not stop because she has stepped back from formal duties. If anything, it follows her more closely precisely because she is trying to live a private life in public view. And Edo, an outsider who chose to enter this world by choosing her, has discovered what many before him have discovered. That marrying into the orbit of the British royal family is not simply a personal decision. It is a structural one. It changes the nature of your professional life, your social life, your media exposure, and the expectations placed upon you in ways that are almost impossible to fully anticipate from the outside. Royal commentators have long observed that the marriages which struggle most within this world are not the ones defined by incompatibility of personality, but by incompatibility of emphasis, expectation, of what life was supposed to look like, of how much freedom was supposed to exist, of whose needs were supposed to come first. We have seen this pattern before. We have watched it play out with Diana, with Sarah Ferguson herself, Beatrice's own mother, with Harry and Meghan, in their own way. The institution does not bend easily, and the people inside it, or even adjacent to it, must bend instead. The question for Beatrice and Edo has always been the same question that faces every couple in their position. Can you build something real inside a world that was never designed for ordinary love? We do not yet know how this story ends. What we know is that Princess Beatrice, one of the quieter, more dignified members of a family rarely associated with quiet or dignity, is facing a moment that is deeply personal, deeply human, and quietly consequential. Whether the marriage survives, whether it transforms into something different, or whether the reports that have circled for months eventually harden into confirmation, she will, in all likelihood, handle it the way she has handled everything else. With her head up, with her children protected, and with as much privacy as the world will allow her. That may be the most royal thing about her. Not the title, the composure. If stories like this, grounded, honest, and told with the respect this family deserves, are what you come here for, you already know what to do. Hit subscribe. Because in a family this complicated, there is always more to uncover.